Welcome everybody to the first ever Formula One video on the Polo Womo channel today. We got some pretty interesting news. We got Johnathan Wheatley out of Audi and he's joining Aston Martin to replace Adrian Newey of all people. Along with that, we got some China recap I have to get into and also some other news in Formula One to get into. So without further ado, welcome to the Polo Womo channel. As I mentioned, this is my first time doing Formula One content, but I love Formula One. I watch every race, I watch every interview. I watch literally everything, the pre-race show, the post-race show. I've been wanting to do this for a while now. So, it's time I just get into it. And really, I just am excited for this journey. And hopefully I can keep this consistent because I can't seem to keep anything consistent, but we're going to get into it. So, first off, news this morning. Audi has confirmed the departure of team boss Johnathan Wheatley. Following the reports, he will replace Adrian Newey in a similar role at Aston Martin. On Thursday, ESPN reported F1 design legend Newey is stepping back from the role of team principal to focus on his original job with the team and execute chairman and managing technical partners, which he stated early in 2025. So basically, this is more of just Newey, I guess, going back into the lab, focus on, the car again, and I guess just let Johnathan Wheatley take care of, being the principal. It kind of makes sense. Wheatley, though, to leave Audi, I wasn't expecting that, but, Aston Martin probably threw bro the bag. I can't even lie, threw him the big bag. That's probably what happened, because, we look at what Audi's done so far this season. I thought they were pretty impressive. Sure, the two DNSs are not great, but in Australia, they looked all right. They looked pretty good for their first ever race, and, they're the only people running that engine, the Audi engine. For them to be that competitive early on, I'd say they have a good package with them, and there's potential in that car. But Aston Martin's gonna throw that bag. They're gonna throw that cash at Wheatley. So I'm assuming that's exactly why he left, and it's gonna put Binotto in charge of Audi. So that's gonna be very interesting, guys. We all know the days of Binotto at Ferrari. So I think that would be definitely interesting to say the least. Originally, they announced for personal reasons he'll be leaving, but we all know that, they are very personal reasons. Honestly, I'm very curious to see how this is going to work. Aston Martin has been absolutely stinking the bed up this season so far. Very, very bad, but apparently there's high potential in this car. But, Alonso, I don't know if y'all seen the video on Twitter. He can't even keep his hands on the steering wheel. He has to take them off. So it'll be interesting to see what Aston Martin can come up with. And, if Newey's going to, sit back now and just keep working on the designs, we'll see what happens. Maybe end of the season, they're a very competitive team, very competitive car. I wouldn't be surprised. But, there's a lot of teams in the midfield that are, competing really well right now. So it's even if Aston Martin's able to pick it up, what's guaranteeing them that they're just immediately going to fly to the top, And you gotta feel bad for Fernando Alonso, but it is what it is. He took the bite with Aston Martin, and they just haven't delivered. So maybe honestly, they should just focus on 2027. Let's be real. It's only been 2 races though, so you don't know what could happen the rest of the season. It will be interesting to see, especially now that the teams are gonna have that month break because of Saudi Arabia and Bahrain getting canceled due to the overseas stuff going on. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that part of it. Be interesting to see what happens, but in terms of what else to talk about, we have the China race that I have to cover. Now it's been a week now pretty much since the race is concluded, but I do want to talk about this still because I haven't personally talked about it yet. Overall, I gotta say I really did enjoy China. I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. I think Australia was a little bit better, just because I don't know, that excitement for those first laps in Australia were different, I guess, to this. But it was super nice to see Kimi Antonelli get his first win ever, and beating George Russell pretty comfortably. He had that lock up there with only a couple laps to go, but for the most part, he held it in check. And overall, there was a lot of good action here. You had Colapinto holding up everybody, and him and Ocon were giving great action. Unfortunately, that led to the little crash. But overall. The Ferrari cinema for laps like 24 through 27, they were just side by side like the whole time. And eventually it led to Russell getting past both of them. But, it was just that was peak. That was peak. And people call it artificial racing. I'm 50-50 on it. I don't know how much I like it, but at the same time, it's entertaining to watch, to say the least. I mean, sometimes it does feel like, oh, he passed him, so now he's just going to get passed back on the next straight or whatever. But honestly, I mean, it's just kind of nice to see like what these cars, like, see people go side by side for a lot of the races. Like, a lot of the action can be side by side sometimes. And they follow through dirty air way better than the previous cars did. And I think, honestly, the chassis are perfect. The chassis are great. I think they should have kept the old engines, but it is what it is. It is Formula One. It's changing, but you know what? You gotta love it. And honestly, I think give these cars some time, and we could see even better product. But honestly, so far this season, I've been a fan of it. So, to talk about China a little bit more, though. I mean, we're gonna get into my winners and losers. I'm gonna go over the losers first because you want to get the bad stuff out of the way first. McLaren, double DNS. Oscar Piastri has 0 laps in a race this season and 2 Grand Prix, but he has 3 points. Pretty impressive stuff, McLaren. Lando obviously didn't start either. They teased Oscar too. They pulled him off the grid at the last second. It wasn't like it was like Lando got pulled off the grid, I think, immediately. They waited until the very end of the pre-race to basically say, hey, Oscar, you're not going to be competing today. Which is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to say. But at the end of the day, McLaren, it's just not been a good start for them. They're behind Ferrari. They're behind Mercedes. They're, on par with Red Bull probably. And for the most part this season, they have not been, they've been dealing with a lot of reliability stuff. And all the Mercedes teams, besides Russell, stopping and Sainz in practice a couple of times, I'd say, well, I guess Albon didn't start either. That's another DNS, but Alpine hasn't had any issues. McLaren, on the other hand, they've struggled. They've struggled with these new engines, and honestly, it's a big step back, and it's a terrible start to the season. Piastri, 2 races in, hasn't even started a race. That's terrible. That's not good, especially from the defending world champs, constructors and drivers. How's that possible? I mean, it's new regulations and all that for everybody, but to just not even start is insane. I don't even, like, I guess Australia, it wasn't maybe necessarily all the team's fault or Oscar's fault. It was just how that he cut all that energy or whatever to accelerate off that corner. But at the same time, it's like, how is that happening to the former constructors? And at this rate, Mercedes and Ferrari, they're leading off into the distance, and McLaren, we'll see what happens in Japan. Their DNS was Bortoleto. Now, Bortoleto crashed at the end of qualifying in Q2. I don't know if that was what was related to his car not being able to start, but it was just 4 cars. We haven't started the race yet this season with all 22 cars on the grid, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy, but you know what? We just gotta keep pushing forward. We'll see what happens in Japan. But then another loser, I would say, this weekend is gonna have to be Aston Martin. Again, it's just obvious. Stroll made it 11 laps, caused a safety car. Alonso literally was taking his hands off the steering wheel because he was losing feeling in his hands. It's just a terrible, thing they got going on there. But I guess there's huge potential, and now they got Johnathan Wheatley over there, so we'll see what happens. For some winners now, we'll split it up here. We'll go to some winners. An obvious winner for me, Ollie Bearman, best of the rest, pretty much all weekend. Not in qualifying necessarily, but during races, was able to find his way through the field. Even with the whole thing that happened with Hadjar on lap 1, he still found a way to get past everybody and end up in P5. It's really probably P7, but but you gotta take advantage of that, and he did. And Ollie Bearman, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say I was a hater, somebody who didn't really mess with him, but he's changed my opinion. I thought people, were honestly glazing him a lot, um, and it's not that it was like something that I didn't dislike him, but like I don't know, I just thought he was overhyped for real. But honestly, this season he shut me up, and honestly, I honestly respect him a lot now. Like I rate Ollie Behrman pretty high now, just because of what he's done, this season. I see the hype. I see the hype behind Behrman now, and I'm not afraid to say that I didn't see that first. It's not that I didn't see it. I just thought people were glazing the crap out of him. It was too early, but I see it now. He's up there. He's probably going to be best of the rest in the midfield. I don't know. There's a couple other couple of the drivers we could see doing that, but I honestly think, he showed it. He's got the stuff. Behrman's got the stuff in him. Another winner, I'm going to give it to Liam Lawson. The Racing Bulls didn't look, the greatest this weekend, to say the least, but Lawson found a way to finish P7 in both the sprint and the real race, which is extremely impressive. I'd say, Lawson all week has had the better of Lindblad, and honestly, it's something he needed, because after Australia, everybody was gassing up his teammate, and it's like, oh, Lawson was looking kind of suspicious, like, what's going on here? The Australia start, we all thought whatever that was what it was, and for him to come back in China in a race where the Racing Bulls didn't even look, that great. They didn't even look like a car that probably should be finishing inside, maybe 10th at best. And for him to finish 7th in both the sprint and the actual race, super impressive stuff, Liam. He's also somebody who's kind of grown on me a little bit. I feel like Liam Lawson's overhated by a lot of people, and I can understand why. But honestly, I think there is some quality in there. Will he ever be able to get another shot at a big team? Probably not. But, he's got potential to be a good midfield driver, I feel like, for his career. Probably on a different team, though. Someone like Behrman, though, like Behrman's giving Ferrari a headache, because Lewis Hamilton looks great right now, and they're obviously not going to drop either Charles Leclerc or Hamilton at this rate. So it's like they better watch out. They better watch out and hope that Behrman don't go somewhere else, because I don't know how long he's going to want to wait in a midfield. Haas, but speaking of Haas has been really good this year. Them and Alpine fighting for P5, P6. We'll get into the second, my third winner. I'm gonna just go straight to it. Alpine is a winner for me. Double points, Gasly and Colapinto. Colapinto was having a great race until Ocon hit him. Spoiler, Ocon's a loser for me this weekend. But Colapinto, no. I mean, like, the qualifying pace is definitely a little bit off the Gasly, but in the race, he pulls it together. It's just a shame that, what happened. The safety car messed him up. Safety car also messed up Gasly. Both Alpines got affected by that safety car, because Gasly, I'm pretty sure, was running in P5 by himself. He probably would have finished 5th if it wasn't for that safety car. And Colapinto was running 6th, and he probably was going to finish 6th without that safety car. I think Alpine had really good pace this weekend. They were the 3rd fastest car, I believe, in terms of race pace during the race. And yeah, so that's really good signs for Alpine after being in Australia. They were pretty much nowhere. For them to be, best of the rest in, China. But that's why Behrman's, also a winner for me. It's like Behrman beat the Alpines, even though Haas did not have the best midfield car this weekend. So that just goes credits to show Behrman's got some skill to him. Behrman might be him. Behrman might be him, but like Gasly, I mean, P7 and sprint in the race, but finished 11th in the sprint race and only 6th in the race. But he got messed up by the safety car. But then he couldn't also overtake. Like Behrman and Verstappen got past Ocon and Colapinto, and Gasly, it took him a solid 6 laps longer, and that's what lost him P5 in the end. But Colapinto, he was defending great. I mean, to keep Ocon behind him and keep Behrman and Verstappen behind him as long as he did was super impressive. It's a shame Ocon kind of just torpedoed him in the turn. What is that, 2? Turn 2-3 area. It is what it is, but. Going on the Ocon now for another loser for me, Ocon, just not a good start for the season. You know, he's feeling the pressure. You got to say it. He's feeling the pressure right now. I mean, Behrman's had him absolutely, you know, confuffled at this point in the season. You got to say, it's not even a debate. Behrman's the number one in that team right now. Ocon can't beat him in qualifying, can't beat him in races. He's not even, you know, been close. I mean, sure, his lap got messed up by Bortoleto in Q2, but I don't even think he was like Behrman had him by like 2/10 the whole weekend. And you know, it's looking a little rough here for Ocon Esteban. You know, causing a crash with Colapinto, ending pretty much both of the races. I mean, Colapinto still fought back and got a point, but it's just like, wishing the best for Bestie, but you know, he's got to get it together. He's got to get it together, and we'll see what happens in Japan. You know, it's not a circuit that I think he's particularly great at, but he's got to get back at Behrman here, because right now Haas is P4 in the constructors, and it is Ollie Behrman Haas, or Haas Behrman Haas. That is what the constructor is right now. You know, so we'll see what happens moving forward right now for Haas and Ocon. But finally, I'm going to get into my last winner. Something that wasn't really talked about a lot was Carlos Sainz finishing 9th with the eighth fastest car or 9th fastest car. Overall, the Williams is a bucket with wheels at this point. And for him to come and finish P9 ahead of Colapinto and an Alpine. Sure, Colapinto had damage, but I mean, that goes credits to, Sainz. I mean, it's a great stuff there. I mean, 2 points for Williams at this point in the season probably feel like a P5, honestly, because that car is absolutely nowhere. They have no reason to be fighting anywhere in the points right now. And for him to be able to thug it out and get a P9, I mean, that's pretty great stuff there. That's pretty great stuff. And I gotta say, I'm impressed by Sainz. I mean, I saw a stat the other day that Carlos Sainz has scored the 50 of the last 53 points for Williams. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy because of how good Albon started 2025 off. For Sainz to score the last 50 of 53 points. I mean, Albon, it's getting cool. We gotta have the big weekend here for Albon soon, because Sainz is starting to cook. And yeah, so that's gonna do it pretty much for my winners and losers then. And just a little bit of a recap then of China. Going into Suzuka, I'll give my Suzuka predictions in another video. But for now, that's gonna do it for China. And news around F1. Wheatley to Aston Martin. Bonazzo promoted principal. Newey is now a technical director type role. So that's gonna do it for my Formula One video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I had a lot of fun talking Formula One. I really enjoy Formula One. It's not something I've really ever talked about before, but I watch literally all the races, watch all the interviews, watch everything. So I feel like my opinion is pretty valid. I'm not gonna say I'd say I'm a little bit better than a casual. I get a lot of stuff in here, and I hope you guys enjoy my Formula One content, and opinions. And we'll see how this goes on in the future. And, we'll be back in a little bit to talk Japan. We'll talk Japan. And we'll do a recap for that too. And hopefully it won't take me a week to come out with that video. But yeah, that's going to do it for me today. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. It's Friday morning for me. I got a meeting here at 1 that I got to go to attend to. But that's going to do it. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe, leave a like, comment, give your thoughts, opinions. I'm open to all ears, all things you guys want to hear. And yeah, I'll catch y'all in the next one.